The face on the screen. I'm not really sure when things started to feel wrong. At first, it was just inconvenient. I bought the laptop from my roommate. He said it used to be his, that he'd already wiped it clean and he just needed quick cash. The price was cheap, but not suspiciously cheap. Enough that I didn't question it. The laptop looked old, but not broken. No scratches, no dents. Almost too clean. For the first few days, everything was normal. I used it for work, emails, watching videos at night. It ran fine, no issues. Then, one night, I woke up to a faint clicking sound. I live alone in my room, and the laptop was closed on my desk. The room was dark except for this dull, bluish glow. When I sat up in bed, I realized the laptop was on. I know for a fact I shut it down. I figured maybe it was updating or something, so I shut it off and went back to sleep. The next night, it happened again. This time, I watched it. The screen flickered. Lines ran across it, like a corrupted video file trying to load. And then, for maybe half a second, I saw a face. It wasn't clear, more like a reflection underwater. A man's face, distorted, mouth slightly open, eyes unfocused. Then the screen went black again. I froze. I shut the laptop and unplugged it. The next morning, I asked my roommate about it. He laughed it off, said I probably dreamed it, and reminded me the laptop was wiped. "Nothing on there," he said. That night, I checked. I went through every folder. There were no documents, no photos, no videos. Nothing. Except one folder I didn't remember seeing before. It didn't have a name, just a blank icon. Inside were video files. No thumbnails, no timestamps, just numbers. I clicked one. It showed a dimly lit room. The camera was low, like it had been placed on the floor. I could hear breathing, heavy breathing. Then a voice whispered something I couldn't make out. The video cut off. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I tried to find the seller's information again. The email my roommate gave me bounced back. The phone number didn't work. I decided to go to the address listed in the system registry. It was only a few blocks away. When I knocked, an older woman answered. I asked about the man who used to live there. She stared at me for a long time before speaking. She said he'd been found dead months ago, murdered. When I told her about the laptop, her face changed. She said the police had taken everything. Computers, phones, everything. Except one laptop. I went straight to the police. That's when everything unraveled. My roommate was arrested a few days later. Apparently, he'd lied about knowing the victim. He'd sold the laptop before the police finished their investigation. They told me the files I described were never recovered. That night, the laptop turned on again. I picked it up, walked outside, and threw it into a dumpster 3 blocks away. I moved out a week later. Sometimes, though, I swear I see that face again, just for a second, watching. The book in the library. I didn't mean to steal it. I know that sounds like an excuse, but that's the truth. I wasn't looking for anything specific that day. I was just killing time at the public library, wandering through aisles I never usually went down. That's when I saw the book. It was sitting on a lower shelf, pushed back like someone had tried to hide it. No barcode on the spine, no title. When I opened it, the pages were yellowed and brittle, but there was no text, just drawings. They were crude but detailed. Figures kneeling in circles, symbols carved into flesh, altars made of stone. I remember one image in particular, a faceless figure holding something up to the sky while others watched. I felt stupid standing there staring at it, so I did the dumbest thing possible. I put it in my backpack. At home that night, I locked my door and laid the book on my desk. Under proper light, it looked even worse. The drawings weren't random. They followed patterns, repeated symbols, repeated gestures, like instructions. That's when I noticed the feeling. That sense you get when someone is behind you. I live alone. My apartment was silent. Still, I kept glancing toward the doorway. Every time I looked back at the book, I felt like I wasn't alone in the room anymore. I shut it and put it back in my bag. The next morning, I returned it to the library. I didn't say anything. I just slid it back where I found it and left. That should have been the end. 3 nights later, I was unpacking my backpack when I felt something heavy at the bottom. It was the book. Same cracked cover, same smell, same drawings. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I drove out to an empty lot and tried to burn it. I poured lighter fluid on it and lit a match. The flames took immediately. The leather curled, the pages blackened. I stayed until nothing was left but ash. Driving home, I finally felt relief. Then I glanced at the passenger seat. The book was sitting there, unburnt, clean, closed. I nearly crashed. I pulled over and couldn't stop shaking. I grabbed it with both hands and drove straight to the nearest church. The priest was older, calm. I didn't explain everything. I just told him the book wasn't right and I couldn't keep it. He didn't ask questions. He took it from me and told me I'd done the right thing. For months, nothing happened. I started to believe it was over. Then one day, I read the obituary. The priest had died suddenly. Heart attack, they said. I went back to the church and asked about the book. No one knew what I was talking about. They said the priest never mentioned it. They searched the office. Nothing. That night, I woke up to a tapping sound. I looked toward the window. The priest was standing outside, smiling. He was holding the book against the glass, pressed flat like he wanted me to read it again. When I blinked, he was gone. I didn't want people to think I was losing my mind. I stopped talking about the book altogether. I told myself that if I never said it out loud, it would eventually stop feeling real. I haven't told this story since. Until now. The shoes at the dollar store. Elizabeth bought them for me. It was one of those random things you don't think twice about. We were at the dollar store, killing time, and she spotted a pair of shoes in one of those wire bins near the front. They weren't my style exactly, but they were comfortable, and for a few dollars I figured, why not? I wore them almost every day after that. They fit perfectly. Too perfectly. No break-in period, no blisters. It felt like they already knew my feet. A few weeks later, I came home from work and found one shoe sitting outside the front door. Just one. At first, I laughed. I figured the dog dragged it out. He had a habit of stealing shoes when he got bored. I brought it back inside, scolded him half-heartedly, and forgot about it. Then it happened again. This time, the shoe was farther away, sitting at the edge of the driveway. Clean, upright, like someone had placed it there. I blamed the dog again. Elizabeth did too. It became a joke between us. The thing was, the dog never chewed it, never scratched it, never treated it like a toy. He wouldn't even go near it. Still, I kept wearing the shoes. I really liked them. One morning, I woke up late for work and couldn't find one of them. I checked everywhere. Closet, car, yard, nothing. This time, it didn't turn up. Elizabeth suggested I take the dog out, see if he could track it. I didn't think that made sense, but I was annoyed and tired, so I put him on a leash and walked into the woods behind our neighborhood. He pulled hard, nose low to the ground, straight down a path I'd never taken before. About 15 minutes in, he stopped. There was a man standing near the trees. Before I could say anything, he smiled and said, "I'm glad you found my shoes." I couldn't move. The man looked down at the ground, then back at me. My phone rang. It was Elizabeth. I looked down to answer it, my hands shaking. When I looked back up, the man was gone. The woods were empty. The dog was standing perfectly still, staring at the spot where he'd been. I never put the shoe on again. That night, I drove to the cemetery near the road that cuts through the woods and left the shoe there, setting it gently on the edge of one of the older graves. I didn't ask questions. Elizabeth noticed I stopped wearing them. She asked why. I told her they didn't fit anymore. Sometimes I still look outside before I step out the door.
Did you enjoy these creepy true stories? Want some more? Join us every week as we uncover new tales that linger long after the lights go out. Subscribe and never miss a thing. Until then, this is Carson Knight of Room 67. Be safe.